Hi guys, I'm Jesse at strobepro.com, and today we're going to be looking at the Strobepro Super Clamp. Essentially, this is just a metal clamp that you can clamp onto a table, a light stand, basically anywhere where these jaws open up and can grip on. And down here we have a spigot receiver, so we can put a spigot inside there. So it's a great place to mount lights and other accessories in hard to reach locations. So let's take a look what's included in the box and look a little bit closer at the Strobepro Super Clamp. So every Strobepro Super Clamp is going to come with three pieces. So you have your clamp itself, and then mounted in this clamp we have our flat table adapter, which I'll show you the purpose of that in a few minutes. And then we have a spigot included as well. So a lot of different manufacturers don't include the spigot. We include one in there, so if you already have one, that's great, but you've got a spare. And these are just standard spigots, which will fit into our receiver down here. So to do that, we have a quick release right here. It's just a spring-loaded button, which allows us to insert that spigot in and lock it in. But before we do that, we actually need to just back off this safety screw. So we back that off, go to the front here, and we can go either side. We have our standard 1/4 inch or 3/8. Normally you'll probably want the 1/4 inch out. So go in, push the button, it locks in. So now it's not going to pull out, but we need to tighten down that safety screw. So once we do that, it becomes firm. We have a strong mounting point to put whatever we want directly onto the spigot. And that's essentially what this is all about, is now we can go mount this to a light stand and have an extra mounting point for a strobe or a softbox or whatever accessory we're trying to do. A lot of people like using them up overhead on a rafter if you've got a low ceiling or you can't get a stand up there. And even table mounts where you need to get a stand out of the frame, this is a great option for that as well. So let's take a look at a few of those mounting points and look a little bit closer at how to do that. So let's mount this to this box that I have here. You could mount this to anything flat basically. And we're going to go in and take a look at this flat piece here. Now you don't have to have this in, it's only when you're mounting to something flat, but it's really easy. There's just two round points there that go into the receivers on there, and it just kind of pushes in, and it's just friction fit. So don't lose that, it will slide out if you're bouncing it around or hitting it upside down or something. But basically all we have to do then is go over here and slide that all the way in, tighten this down, and it's locked in place. Now we can mount whatever we want directly to the spigot. It's really easy. But what happens if this handle is in the way? No problem. I can just push that handle. There's a little button on the end, or you can just pull it like that, and you can actually move the handle out of the way. So it's spring-loaded, really easy to move. That way you don't have to worry about it being in the way. Now, one thing I should mention about mounting to flat surfaces is that something like our table here is quite thick actually. So although it will open up, the jaws will open up to receive that, you want to be careful because as you clamp down, if it doesn't go parallel, it might want to push itself off. So if you're running on something thicker like a table like that, just be aware of that. You probably don't want to mount really heavy loads. But if you've got something that's smaller and at least the grip can go parallel, then you're going to get an even bite on the super clamp and it'll be much safer for you. And there you go. Just be careful that that doesn't pop out. If you're not using it, just throw it back in the box. Now we're going to mount the super clamp to a round surface here, which happens to be our C-stand. So I've pulled the flat adapter out of there so you can see that we have this nice deep V, which is going to grip onto the actual stand itself. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this out to the side, grab it there, and then just bring this in. Make sure you keep your fingers and thumbs out of it because this thing does grip very hard. And tighten that down till it's nice and firm. And again, if you want, you can make sure that that handle gets out of the way. And before we mount anything on here, we just want to make sure that our safety is nice and tight. So it is tight there. And my spigot is locked into place. So why would I want to mount this to a stand, in particular this C-stand? Well, a lot of times if you're using a boom and you have a heavy light like this 8600 Pro and you're putting it out there, we're putting a big modifier on, it gets very heavy on the end of a boom, and then you have to counterbalance that boom with a sandbag or something. So this is a way that we can save that weight going out onto the end of the boom. I can take this 8600 and I've already attached an extension head here to it, which just allows me to take the flash tube out of here and put it in a separate head. So that's a lot lighter. All the controls, all the capacitors, everything are down here in the head. And I can go over to this, drop it onto the spigot, tighten it down. And now I've separated that head. Make sure this is tight as well. I separated that from our boom. We don't need that big counterweight there. Now, if I was actually doing this, I would mount it right down low here, but it would just be out of frame for this shot. And that actually provides a counterbalance as well to your stand. It's almost like having a kind of light sandbag on your stand. So that's just one way that you can do that. Another great way would be to mount it lower if you wanted to do a kicker light off of one stand. So you could have a light mounted up here as your main, and then your fill is down below, just to kick up some light. That way, if you're doing portrait or basically any kind of different shot where you want a light mounted lower. So those are just a couple examples of where we can put that super clamp. And it's really easy, again, with our quick release. We could actually just leave the spigot in the light itself. So I could back off the safety, which I'm doing, and then go to our quick release. So we would pull out with the spigot rather than having to take the spigot out directly. So again, that'll just go in really easy. Push the safety, locks in, tighten that safety screw, and we're good to go. I wanted to show you another feature of the spigot receiver here. So we can take our standard spigots, which we've been putting in there and showing you, but it will also take a hex spigot as well. So I've grabbed our flex arm here, and you can see on the end here that it's a hex shape, but that will still fit into the receiver. So just like we did before, go in, straight in. Once it hits that, push the release at the bottom here, so it goes all the way in, and then just tighten down the safety screw here. And now that is locked into place. And on the other end of this, I just have put a little M1 LED light. So it's really useful if you need to put something in a really difficult spot, rather than bring another stand in here and, you know, have that kind of be cumbersome. We can get a secondary light if we had our main up here, and then just put this as a fill, position it wherever we want, and it just makes it really easy like that. Another thing I should mention on here, so I pop this out, again, just back that off, push the safety, it'll pull out of there. You'll see some screws right here. So we've got a 1/4 inch thread in the middle, so we could directly screw a spigot into there if we wanted. But these extra screws are for putting mounting screws for like our triple wall mount brackets. We use our super clamps to mount those with our auto pull system. So the super clamp actually grips onto the auto pull, much like it does here, and then that holds those holders. So you might find another use for those. You can put screws in there and just have another way to mount different accessories. So there you have it. That's everything you need to know about the Strobepro Super Clamp. It's really an invaluable piece of equipment that you're going to use all the time. If you walk through our showroom here in Strobepro, you'll see these all over the place. We have them mounted on flat surfaces, on stands, mounting umbrellas, like tons of different things. We find them super useful. I think you will too. Pick one up and check out all the options at strobepro.com. And until next time, enjoy creating.